put together the program that we've been enjoying today and will carry on to enjoy tomorrow. As part of that, during the selection process, we obviously relied very heavily on the reviewers who did an excellent job of looking at the papers and commenting on them and rating them. And for the most part, we took the reviewers' reviews at face value and accepted most of the papers. But Jane and I did take quite a bit of time to go through all the borderline ones and assess those, and included some of those that we've rated by the reviewers, and to make a decision on the Best Paper Award and the Runner-Up Award for what we felt was the second best paper. And I must admit, reading the 7 best papers was an absolute pleasure. The one for the best paper, as I've said, and one for the runner-up best paper. The winners of those 2 awards will get a certificate and a Kalahari gift voucher, and hopefully enjoy spending a bit of cash at kalahari.com as part of that. I'm going to announce the runner-up award first, which goes to a paper from NMMU, The Usability of Collaborative Business Process Modeling Tools by Brenda Scholz, Andre Karlitz, and Irene Sneema.
Now, who's going to take this?
Who's going to take this? Our photographer has won the award.
Kijk jullie dat? Kijk, ja? Thank you, thank you. Thanks, Clayton.
The Best Paper Award itself is a paper from UCT, a comparison of machine learning techniques for handwritten, I'm never going to pronounce this right, CLAM or something like that, word recognition by Kyle Williams, Hussein Suleiman and Georgina Payama. Thanks, folks. The next item in our proceedings, I don't know why I'm doing James's job as MC for him. He's obviously getting a little lazy or something down there. I'm going to ask Alta van der Merwe to come up and to just introduce the SAICSIT Pioneer Awards for us. So, Alta, if you'd like to come and take the microphone and introduce the next part of our proceedings this evening.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Can you hear me if I talk without this thing? No. Oh, you lie. I have to misuse this position of standing here in front and say, I think we need to give a big hand of applause to the organizing committee this year, because it's just brilliant. Everything, I've been looking for mistakes and I'm still struggling to find one. And Karen, John, everybody that's been involved, I think it's amazing. It was really nice. And then I also have to say, as president of SAICSIT, there's a rule in some cultures that you're not allowed to leave the room up until the king has left. And so that means that we're going to kuier vanaand tot ek moeg word. Okay. Okay, so the SAICSIT Pioneer Award that we're going to introduce now, and we are very privileged tonight, and I'm first going to read it as it is on the website, what it stands for. It happened more or less in 2008, when the SAICSIT Council decided to, as an ongoing process, recognize individuals who have played pioneering roles in promoting computer science and information technology as academic disciplines in South Africa. And we have had already up to the stage 9 recipients, and we are very privileged that one of them are here tonight. Derek Curry and Derek Smith has been last year. Derek, where are you? Will you stand up and wave for everybody? Yes. Judy Bishop, Ken McGregor, Pat Terry, Roel van der Heever, Basie van Solms, Derek Henderson, and Dewald Roeder, late Dewald Roeder. Did I miss? There's not someone else from the Pioneer Award here. I didn't. Okay. So this is the first time that I've been using the iPad for this, and I'm so proud on myself. Rona, is this slow enough? Okay. So the first candidate that I'm going to, and it's a privilege for me to announce, Prof. van Solms. I have to say, as a young academic, when I came into being at my first or second and third SAICSIT, daai ou oomies wat daar gesit het wat so belangrik was, and Derek was one of them, and Rousseau and everybody, I was so scared of them. But actually, I think everybody that knows Rousseau will agree that he has been an example in our field of computing. So Professor Rousseau van Solms has been active in the discipline of information technology, or IT, since early 1982, when he was appointed as lecturer at the then Port Elizabeth Technikon. For 17 years, from 1989 till 2005, he was the HOD of information technology at the PE Technikon, playing an instrumental role in establishing IT as a fully fledged academic discipline. Currently, he is a professor in the School of ICT. In the early 1990s, Rousseau was core in the funding of the Technikon Computer Lecturers Association, or also known as TECLA. He also served as the first chairperson of this body. TECLA was the body that initiated and coordinated the first national curriculum for IT as a career-focused vocational discipline. Rousseau also played a leading role in the introduction of research in the field of IT, specifically at the then Technikons. Rousseau was also elected into the Council of the South African Institute for Computer Sciences and Information Technologists, SAICSIT, during the late 1990s. During those early years, he continuously tried to establish the professional, vocational nature of IT as a discipline. As the fields of computer science and information systems dominated the computer world, he continued to serve as a Council SAICSIT member till 2012, including the period of 2006 till 2010, which he served as president. With more than 50 peer-reviewed journal publications, more than 100 peer-reviewed conference papers, more than 2,000 citations, and an H-index of 25, he definitely leads by example, and I think we can give him this award. And I'm going to ask Stephen Flowerday to come here to accept the award.
Evening, folks. As you gather, I'm not Professor van Solms. I'm merely reading his statement, his acceptance. Thank you note. Dear SAICSIT councils and gala dinner attendees, it is indeed an honor for me to receive the SAICSIT Pioneer Award. I really feel humbled to be associated with the prestigious recipients of this award. Having started in the field of electronic data processing some 32 years ago, which evolved into computer data processing late into information technology, I can really say that I have tried my best over these years for the XP Technikon, the NMMU, and obviously for the discipline of information technology. I've got involved in managerial and organizational aspects, as well as teaching and learning and research aspects in the discipline of IT, both at my institution and nationally. TECLA and SAICSIT really provided forums for me where I could try to change and improve the standing of the discipline, the way it is perceived by industry, and specifically the standing of ex-Technikon qualifications. Sometimes I feel robbed, as I had really worked hard. Sorry, let me correct this. Sometimes I feel robbed, as I have really worked hard for nearly a lifetime to get technical programs accepted and appreciated by industry and the public. And just as I thought we were winning the battle, the then Minister of Education, Mr. Kader Asmal, had other plans, but a new dispensation, new challenges. Can I please thank the following parties? The SAICSIT Council for bestowing this honor onto me. Thanks a lot, I really appreciate it. Our colleagues and managers over this 32 years have really supported me and allowed me to participate at these national forums to do what I enjoy doing. Laaste maar beslis nie die minste, my hemelse Vader, vir al die genade en sending. Greetings from Europe.
Thank you. And as you may know, that is, Stephen has been one of Rousseau's PhDs, am I correct? Okay, and I think he can also blame him for some stuff, but also appreciate him for a lot of stuff. Okay, so our next recipient, we are privileged enough to have him here tonight, Phil Roots. And I'm going to ask Martin Willefeer to first introduce him to you before we call him to the stage.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I think with this recipient we have a slightly different situation with Rousseau and so on. We've seen them over the years, we've seen how they aged and so on. Phil Roots sort of disappeared from the scene in '86. They were really talking about a pioneer, and I think most of you will have no idea what he's done. And we may need to take a little bit longer to tell you about the events. Now, part of those events were this crazy idea that you could build a supercomputer out of commodity hardware in the early 80s. And that is basically what we did. It's one of the things we did at the CSR. I asked some of my old colleagues to give us some feedback. And then one of the names that I also don't know whether it's well known in this community any longer, Herman Venter, who is an interesting guy to get nice words from. But Herman wrote a very, very nice piece, in fact so nice that all the other people just said, yes, that's it. Herman started out by saying, by the time I joined NRIMS, which was the National Research Institute for Mathematical Sciences at the CSIR. When I joined NRIMS in 1983, the computer science section was abuzz with a group of young graduates in high spirits, doing challenging things for the time. Phil was a very hands-on manager and very knowledgeable and experienced. I learned a lot from Phil, as well as my colleagues in the group Phil built up. I still think back at that time at NRIMS as a golden era. Herman, as you may know, has gone on to Microsoft, and I think he was one of the big architects of .NET, and is now at Facebook. I also found, strange enough, from the comments, a certain Dirk Conradi, whom I never knew, but who knew Phil as a child. And he said, I used to know Phil very well as a teenager or student. We stayed in the same street as Phil in Linwood Park, in Etna Street. I will always be thankful for Phil for a couple of things. And one of the things was the introduction to those early computers, the 1970s computers, Apple IIs and so on, and how they built. So Phil's been a teacher, a mentor to all sorts of people. From his official biography, he was born on the 15th of December in 1942 in Pretoria, grew up in Pretoria, Bethel, Potchefstroom and Springs. Just discovered we went to the same high school just a couple of decades after him in Springs. 5 distinctions. Now again, with distinctions you have to take inflation into account. So 5 distinctions in that time probably translates to about 20 distinctions nowadays. He went on to the University of Pretoria, where he studied mathematics, obtained his BSc degrees, honours degrees, MEC in mathematics, and all of them cum laude. And just for the fun of it, he completed half an engineering course. But the interesting thing was, at the engineering department, was the only computer the University of Pretoria had. And Phil discovered that computer and started playing with it. So he also tells us that in those days RAG was still RAG, and he was RAG organizer for Boekenote in 63, RAG magazine treasurer in 64, RAG treasurer in 65. And then in January 66, he sort of wanted to start to work, went to the CSR, and the director of NRIMS was Dr. Alwyn Burger back then. 1966 said, Phil, why don't you go to the Netherlands and go and study a bit more? Because in the Netherlands, there was a certain Dr. Engineer W.L. van der Poel who developed the Zebra computer. And he went off 67, or by June 67 he completed it, and he came back with an engineering degree, cum laude. I think it was actually a master's in engineering, more or less. And then next 3 years he worked at what was the computer division of NRIMS, where he was primarily responsible for the development of a usable interface for drum plotters and vector graphic display units, which were both unique peripherals at the computer center. Over time, the research personnel split off from the operations personnel to form the computer science division. In August 1970, Phil was sent off again, or left, I don't know, out of free will, to Cornell University in New York, where he again studied computer science. Now, computer science, if you look at the international history, first departments of computer science internationally were created around 69. So this was about 70. And amongst others, he studied compiler theory under David Grease, automata and language theory with John Hopcroft, abstract philosophy with R.L. Constable, and obtained another master's degree. I don't know how many masters you need to get a PhD, but came back, focused on the digitization of geographical features from aerial photographs, computer-assisted mapping, and digital terrain model extraction. And this became the pilot software for a customized mapping system with a 10-year operational life cycle. The international limitation on availability of modern technology, in other words, sanctions, meant that we couldn't buy big computers any longer. In fact, one of the big computers in that computer, in the operational computer system, already had German buttons on it, which meant it came in via some strange route. And this is where the idea originated. You can walk out of a country with a pocket full of Motorola 68020 processors, build them all up, and have a supercomputer. And Phil mentions the fact that HP later excelled at building up, doing that thing. Of course, Google is doing more or less the same thing, and so on. It's just decades later. And during this time, the personnel in the division grew from the initial 5 to more than 20. For many of them, the basis to productive and even glamorous careers. I'm not going to, we collected a list of more or less everybody who worked there. I already mentioned Herman Venter. How many people here know Willem van Biljon? It's only Derek. Because Willem van Biljon, well, he did a whole lot of things, but went on and he was one or two or three authors of Amazon's EC2 cloud down here in Cape Town. Didn't want to move away from Cape Town, so resigned there, and then he built another cloud, Nimbula. It was very clear what was going to happen with that cloud, and suddenly if you go to Nimbula's webpage, you can see Oracle's logo. I think he's currently without a job. Dave Suri, who I think we do know, is now Dean of Commerce at Rhodes. Ferdy Skeepers, next time you watch Cars or Incredibles, look at the titles. He's at Pixar Studios, and he's a sequence lead or something at Pixar Studios. That's a sort of community we had, these young people who wanted to do stuff. And they really went on and they did it. Phil also served on several national committees concerned with electrolytic collision, nose play conservation, etc. Also headed the theoretical physics division for a while and acted as institute director on several occasions. Soon after his return from the United States, he says there were quite a couple of professors who were interested in forming a professional society for computer scientists, and SAICS was born, South African Institute of Computer Scientists. And I don't know what his membership number was. I know Judith's was number 13 until whatever changed it. I think I'm number 13 on SAICS or something. Also started with the publication of a journal, which back then was known as QI. My Latin isn't too good, but Quotianus Informatica or whatever. Remained on the editorial board of that, what became SACJ after a while. And I wanted to bring edition 1, number 1 along to show you what it looked like back in 1979. I have an enormous collection. Hans Hickman tells us about the war games that he wrote for the military, more or less at that same time, all in machine code, operating system and all, so on. The need in South Africa for proper language also led into the development of a compiler, which was known as of a language with a compiler, system construction application language, the scrap language. And we built a lot of systems. I think I wrote the slowest linker in the history of computer science. Nowadays people probably don't even know what the linker is any longer in scrap. And yeah, I put scrap on my LinkedIn profile as one of my proficiencies. So all endorse me for scrap programming. I think we are about 50 people in the world who can program in scrap. But unfortunately, 1986, Cesar said, now you have to earn your own money. I thought, great, I have a boss who knows how to earn money. Phil thought, great, he knows how to earn money for himself, and he left. And that was the end of an era. We still had fun, but within about 5 years, I think all of us were gone. Phil created, established his own company, Jew Systems, did some really interesting work. All the Metro Rail Transnet scheduling is done by software that they've written. So that's the sort of thing, but it's behind the scenes. They don't come and present papers about it. So he's publishing his academic career where he stopped in '86. I have quite a couple of other anecdotes from people here. Maybe this is a nice one, Andrew Burke, to end off with. We said being part of the world-leading research environment at CSR certainly gave me a kickstart in my career, and it's given me something to compare all subsequent work environments to. If one just looks at what the people who were part of that group have achieved worldwide, you know it was something special. All of that points back to the vision and leadership of one man, Phil Roots. Ladies and gentlemen, I
Thank you. Will you come to the front? I thought he would be much older. Thank you. Phil is going to give us an acceptance speech now, if you can find it. Got it? It's easier to stand on this side, and you're not in front of that loud.
Good evening, everybody. I think Martin overdid it a bit. Much too much. Usually on occasions like this, we have to look at a few things. The first thing I wondered about, what is a pioneer? And I wondered whether it was you get it just because you're old. I thought maybe that's not the right answer. Then I thought, well, maybe you get it because you did some strange things when you were young. That's probably not the right answer either. In my case, I think is that I had a very fortunate young life, in the sense that he mentioned the story about going to Delft University, or at that time technically what was called Delft. It wasn't as easy as it was when he explained it. Maybe I should tell that story a little bit more detail. What happened was that because I wanted to be an engineer as well as a mathematician, I signed up for a post at the University of Victoria as a junior lecturer. And then I told the boss of the CSR I'm not coming to work for my business. And he got unhappy. So I was commanded into his office on some afternoon at 3 o'clock. I got there, I said, now what's the story? I told him I want to complete the engineering degree because I've got an interest in computers. He said, just wait outside. I sat. At 4:30, he called me back and says, okay, I've just talked to Professor Timman in Holland, who's his promoter. You're going there on 23rd of the month. You've got 40 days to pack. So that's how I got there. But it was a unique occasion. And I did work with, at that time, a very old machine, but still a very old, very interesting environment. I think I was probably one of the first people in South Africa that got that opportunity, because I'm talking about 1960s, 66, 67. When I got back, we also started things that you heard lots about now at the CSR. We were the first people that bought a graphics display. These figures are actual, you can check them on Wikipedia if you like. The CSR bought an IBM 2250 graphic display. It was only black and white. The screen size, effective screen size was 300 millimeters by 300 millimeters, old language, 12 inches by 12 inches. And it cost the meat $280,000. The only fortunate thing is at that time, you got about $3 for every rand. Then I went off to Cornell University, and one anecdote from there I must tell, because this reflects on science. We were sitting in a class with John Hopcroft teaching, and a guy in the class, if I remember correctly, he was a Pakistani. There was a very international mixture in the class. And if I remember correctly, he was a Pakistani guy. After Hopcroft did approve of his theorem, he said, John, we never talked to him as professors over there, John, I think there should be a theorem that sounds like this. Hopcroft looked at him, started walking up and down, walking up and down. And after about a minute, he turned around and said, yes, there is a theorem. I can prove it. You have until tomorrow morning at 8 to publish. So that is competition that was there. That's the way they worked. I was astonished in preparation to find out that those professors are still there. Reese is still there, Hopcroft is still there, Constable is still working at Cornell University. When we got back, we upgraded our graphic system. This time around, we went to a Tektronix vector display. Nobody over here thinks, unless they're perhaps older than I am, would know what a vector display graphic system is. It essentially was where you drew vectors on the screen. There was no backup memory. So every time you wanted to change the display, you wiped the whole display, you redrew the whole display. If it was a not electronics display, you had to do that 50 times a second. So you had to do something with the, but in any case, electronics had this wonderful invention that they call the 4010 or something like that, which only cost $10,000. Prices come down considerably. And we built the interface to that, with which we could do maps onto the screen, which is quite a unique product. And we could do a whole project. We've heard some people around here knew about it. Do a whole project using that as a tool. But we also did the compiler that was mentioned in order to drive this type of animal, because the computers that we were using came only with Fortran. Who knows what Fortran is? No, there's quite a few still. That's good news. So we actually did that at that point in time. It was mentioned that our site, my little role that I played in getting site started with lots of the people who was already mentioned here. That was at that point in time feeling that we must try and build the science environment in South Africa. And hopefully that was some success in it, and otherwise we would not be here in 2013, 51 years later, since I started with computers, and having a group of people here interested in computer as a science, or at least as a discussion medium. Martin, you and all the ex-colleagues that we traced that did the trouble of nominating me, thank you very much. And the committee, thank you very much for accepting the nomination. I hope I'm with you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That is then the end of the Pioneer Awards. I can just say that as a council we have decided that we don't want to give this only to more mature people. We also want to give it to people that really excel, and the way that we're going to do it is we're going to add a descriptive to the Pioneer Award, where sometimes you can get it for a lifelong award, sometimes for excellence, depending on the nominations that we get. But we will give you more information. So all of you that did not attend the AMG this afternoon, AGM, we will have a link on the SAICSIT website. And make sure that you register your email address so that you get notifications of our mails that we send out. Because some people complain they don't get any news from SAICSIT and so on. Okay, thank you. Thanks.
Thanks, guys. With that over and done.